What if I told you that a 25-year-old chauffeur once strapped an airplane propeller onto a rail car and hit 140 kilometers per hour only to die on the return trip? Or that a train balanced on a single rail using nothing but spinning gyroscopes once carried Winston Churchill as a passenger? From jet engines bolted onto commuter coaches to bamboo platforms racing down abandoned tracks, these are 10 trains that engineers said were impossible, that physics said were insane, and that somehow actually worked. Number 1. The Schienenzeppelin. Let's start in Germany, 1929, where an aircraft engineer named Franz Krukenberg had a wild idea. He had spent his career designing zeppelins, those enormous airships that floated through the skies. But Krukenberg looked at the railways and thought, why can't a train move like an airship? So he built one. The Schienenzeppelin, literally meaning rail zeppelin, was a streamlined aluminum rail car with a massive airplane propeller mounted on the back. The body was shaped like a Zeppelin airship, built from lightweight aluminum in aircraft style to reduce weight. It was powered initially by two BMW 4 6-cylinder petrol aircraft engines, later replaced by a single BMW 6 12-cylinder engine producing 600 horsepower. Construction began in early 1930 at the German Imperial Railway Company repair works near Hanover, and the first test with propeller power took place on September 25, 1930. During its first high-speed test, the Schienenzeppelin reached 100 kilometers per hour after just 66 seconds. But the truly jaw-dropping moment came on June 21, 1931. On the Berlin to Hamburg line, between the towns of Karstadt and Dergenthien, the rail Zeppelin averaged 230.2 kilometers per hour, that is 143 miles per hour. It shattered the existing rail speed record, which had stood since 1903. And this new record would not be beaten by any other rail vehicle until 1954, over 2 decades later. The rail car could carry up to 40 passengers, though its interior was Spartan, designed in Bauhaus style with minimal furnishings. The drive shaft was tilted 7 degrees below horizontal to create downward thrust and keep the vehicle pressed firmly onto the rails. So why don't we all ride propeller trains today? Simple. The propeller made it nearly impossible to couple additional carriages. You could not attach passenger cars or freight wagons behind a spinning blade. The train also had difficulty reversing, climbing steep gradients, and the propeller would scatter ballast stones everywhere. By 1939, the Schienenzeppelin was dismantled, and its materials were reportedly recycled for the approaching war effort. But for one glorious summer morning in 1931, a train with an airplane propeller on its backside was the fastest thing on rails. Number 2. The Aérotrain. The Schienenzeppelin tried to push a train along the rails with a propeller. But one French engineer asked a far stranger question: why touch the rails at all? His name was Jean Bertin, and in 1965 he set out to build a train with no wheels whatsoever. His creation, the Aérotrain, didn't roll, it floated. It rode on a thin cushion of pressurized air pumped down between itself and a concrete track shaped like an upside-down T, hovering about a centimeter above the guideway and touching nothing. With no friction from the ground, almost nothing could slow it down. The first half-scale prototype was tested near Paris in 1966. Then came the big one, the Aérotrain I-80, run on an 18-kilometer elevated track near Orléans. On March 5, 1974, it reached 430 kilometers per hour, about 267 miles per hour, a world speed record for air-cushioned vehicles that still stands today. Over years of trials, it carried more than 10,000 passengers and looked like the obvious future of fast travel. So what went wrong? Politics and timing. The Aérotrain needed entirely new elevated tracks, while its rival, the TGV, could run on France's existing rails into the hearts of old cities. The 1973 oil crisis made its thirsty turbines look reckless. In 1974, the government backed the TGV instead. Bertin died in 1975, and the project was abandoned in 1977. It floated, it flew, it shattered records, but the train of the future lost to a train that could use the tracks of the past. Number 3. The M497 Black Beetle. Fast forward to 1966, and America decided it was time to bolt jet engines onto a commuter train. The idea came from Don Wetzel, Assistant Director of Technical Research at the New York Central Railroad. In 1965, Wetzel and engineer Hank Morris casually discussed the possibility of using jet engines to power a locomotive. The concept simmered for about a year before NYC President Alfred Perlman gave the green light with a catch. He wanted the experiment completed in 30 days. The team took an ordinary Budd RDC-3 rail diesel car number M497, originally purchased in 1953 for commuter service in Michigan, and mounted two General Electric J47-19 turbojet engines on top. These engines had originally served as boosters on the Convair B-36 Peacemaker bomber and were purchased as military surplus for just $5,000. To improve aerodynamics, a streamlined nose cone was fabricated. And here is one of the most delightful details of the whole story. The nose design was created by Wetzel's wife, Ruth, a commercial artist. She reportedly based the shape on what simply looked good, believing that aesthetic form and aerodynamic efficiency would naturally align. The engines were mounted at a 5-degree downward angle to generate downforce, ensuring the 51-ton railcar stayed firmly on the tracks. On July 23, 1966, on a straight stretch of track between Butler, Indiana and Bryan, Ohio, the M497 reached a speed of 183.68 miles per hour, roughly 295 kilometers per hour. A Beechcraft Model 18 airplane flew ahead of the train to make sure the track was clear. That speed set the American rail speed record on conventional open track, and that record still stands today. After the test, the jet engines were removed. May 497 went back to its mundane life, hauling commuters between Croton, Harmon, and Poughkeepsie in New York. It was eventually retired and scrapped in 1984. The whole project cost roughly $35,000. For that price, they achieved a speed record that has lasted nearly 6 decades. Number 4, the Birmingham Maglev. We think of trains that float on magnets as futuristic, bullet trains in Shanghai and Tokyo, but the very first to carry paying passengers was a tiny shuttle at an English airport, and it beat the world by 20 years. In the late 1970s, Birmingham Airport faced an awkward problem. Its terminal and the nearby railway station sat barely 600 meters apart, too far to walk, too close for buses. So the planners reached for something wildly ambitious, a magnetic levitation train. On August 16, 1984, the Birmingham Maglev opened, the world's first commercial maglev system. Electromagnets lifted the car about 15 millimeters off its concrete guideway, so it hovered, touching nothing. Linear induction motors drew it silently along, with no wheels and no onboard engine. The 90-second trip glided passengers at 42 kilometers per hour. It was no speed demon, but that was never the point. The point was that it floated reliably every day for 11 years. 2 decades before Shanghai's Maglev would hit 430 kilometers per hour. A humble airport shuttle had already mastered running a train on nothing but magnetic force. So why is it gone? Ironically, it was almost too far ahead of its time, the only system of its kind anywhere. When its 1980s electronics aged, there were no spare parts left. And by 1995, it was switched off for good, replaced by a cable-hauled shuttle on the very same track. It didn't fail because the idea was wrong. It failed because nobody else had been brave enough to build a second one. Number 5, the Wuppertal Schwebebahn. Some strange trains do not just work, they outlast everything else around them. The Wuppertal Schwebebahn is proof. In the late 1890s, the German city of Wuppertal had a problem. Its population had surged past 400,000 during industrialization, but the city was stretched along a narrow, winding river valley. The streets were too cramped for conventional trams, and the rocky terrain made underground railways impractical. Enter Eugen Langen, an entrepreneur and engineer who had been experimenting with suspended railways at his sugar factory in Cologne. In 1893, he proposed an audacious solution: hang the trains upside down from an overhead rail. Construction began in 1898. Almost 20,000 tons of steel were used to create the elevated framework. The route stretches 13.3 kilometers, with most of the tracks suspended 12 meters above the Wupper River, and a 3-kilometer overland section running about 8 meters above the streets. On March 1, 1901, the Schwebebahn opened to the public. Even Kaiser Wilhelm II and his wife Augusta Victoria had taken an early test ride. The crowds on opening day were so enormous that the originally planned 10-minute intervals between trains had to be reduced to 5 minutes. Here is the remarkable part: the Schwebebahn is still running today, more than 125 years later. It serves around 82,000 passengers every single day across 20 stations. It survived 2 world wars, partly because its position above the river protected it from serious bomb damage during World War II. Sleek new Generation 15 trains entered service in 2016. Its most famous incident occurred in 1950 when a circus elephant named Tuffy panicked during a publicity ride, crashed through a carriage window, and fell into the river Wupper below. Tuffy survived with only minor injuries. The Schwebebahn was never replicated for public transit anywhere else in the world. One of its few sister systems is Japan's Shanghai Monorail in Kamakura. Everyone said a hanging railway was absurd, and yet it became one of the most reliable urban transit systems in history. Number 6. The Bennie Railplane. While the Schwebebahn hung from a rail, Scottish inventor George Bennie thought, why not go faster? And why not add propellers? Born in Aldhouse near Glasgow in 1891, Bennie began developing his railplane concept in 1921. His vision was a streamlined carriage suspended from an overhead monorail, propelled by electric-powered airplane propellers, one mounted at each end of the car. The railplane would be built above existing railway tracks, sharing the infrastructure of stations and rights-of-way without disturbing the freight trains below. In 1929-1930, Bennie built a 426-foot prototype track above a disused railway siding at Milngavie on the outskirts of Glasgow. The carriage was built using duralumin, a lightweight aluminum alloy used in aircraft, which had never previously been used in railway carriage construction. On July 8, 1930, media and invited guests were taken for demonstration rides. The interior was luxurious, fitted with Waring and Gillow armchairs, carpeted floors, table lamps, and stained glass windows inspired by the Art Deco movement. One unnamed passenger told the press that the railplane operated with perfect smoothness, and that passengers only knew the car was moving by gazing out of the window. Bennie claimed the railplane could reach speeds of 120 miles per hour in full operation, and that it could shuttle passengers from Glasgow to Edinburgh in just 20 minutes, a trip that even today takes about 50 minutes by conventional train. On the short demonstration track, it managed about 50 miles per hour. There were plans to extend the railplane from Edinburgh to Glasgow, then from Southport to Blackpool, and even to London and Paris. But the timing was catastrophic. The demonstration came at the onset of the Great Depression. Railway companies feared the railplane would steal revenue from their existing lines. No investor stepped forward. By 1937, Bennie was bankrupt. He had financed most of the work himself. The prototype railplane sat rusting in a field at Milngavie until it was sold for scrap in 1956. Bennie died the following year. The train worked, the engineering was proven, the design was beautiful, but the money never came. Number 7, the Lartigue Monorail. Of all the strange trains on this list, the Lartigue Monorail has perhaps the most unexpected origin story. It was inspired by a camel. French engineer Charles Lartigue was working on a project in Algeria in the 1880s when he observed how camels carried heavy loads balanced in panniers draped across their backs, equal weight on each side, straddling the animal's spine. He thought, what if a train worked the same way? Lartigue designed a monorail system with a single rail raised to about waist height on A-shaped trestles. The carriages straddled the rail like panniers on a camel's back, with the weight balanced on either side. He first built a 90-kilometer prototype in the Sahara Desert using mule-drawn wagons to transport esparto grass. Then, in 1886, he brought his system to an exhibition in London. The timing was fortunate. The residents of North Kerry, Ireland had been lobbying for a railway link between the towns of Listowel and Ballybunion. Traditional rail was deemed too expensive for the terrain. Lartigue's cheaper monorail system was adopted. The Listowel and Ballybunion Railway opened on March 1, 1888, making it the world's first commercial passenger-carrying monorail. It ran about 15 kilometers between the two towns, with one stop at Lisselton, carrying passengers, cattle, and sand from the beaches of Ballybunion. The system was ingenious but hilariously impractical. Because everything had to be balanced, the locomotive had 2 boilers and 2 fireboxes, one on each side of the rail. If a farmer wanted to transport a single cow, a calf of equal weight had to ride on the opposite side to maintain balance. Legend has it that when a piano needed shipping, it had to be counterbalanced by an equivalent weight in sand or stones on the other side. Despite these quirks, the Lartigue Railway operated commercially for 36 years. It was finally damaged during the Irish Civil War of 1922-1923 and closed permanently in 1924. Today, a 1-kilometer recreation of the Lartigue Monorail operates in Listowel as a heritage attraction built in 2003 by volunteers. You can still ride a train inspired by a camel. Number 8. The Cambodian bamboo train. Not every strange train was designed by an engineer. Some were born purely out of necessity. In Cambodia, the French colonial government built an extensive railway network in the early 20th century. But decades of war, including the devastation of the Khmer Rouge era, left the rail infrastructure in ruins. Rails were rusted, ties were rotted, and regular train service collapsed. In the 1980s, resourceful villagers near the city of Battambang invented the nori, also known as the bamboo train. It is exactly what it sounds like. A bamboo platform, roughly 3 by 4 meters, laid across a pair of iron wheel sets that sit directly on the old railway tracks. A small portable gasoline engine powers the whole thing. The entire contraption can be assembled in minutes and disassembled just as quickly, which is critical because there is only one track. When two noris meet heading in opposite directions, the lighter one is disassembled and moved to the side of the tracks so the heavier one can pass. Then it is reassembled, and the journey continues. At its peak in the 1990s and 2000s, the nori was a primary form of transportation in rural areas around Battambang. Villagers used it to transport rice, livestock, building materials, and passengers. The bamboo train became a symbol of Cambodian resilience and ingenuity, and eventually, a beloved tourist attraction. Visitors could ride through stunning countryside, past rice paddies, and into thick forests, at a cruising speed of about 10 kilometers per hour uphill, faster on the downhills. In recent years, the original tracks were upgraded as part of national rail development, and a dedicated tourist track was constructed near Battambang so that visitors can still experience the nori. The bamboo train is no longer essential transportation, but it remains an iconic symbol of human creativity in the face of destruction. Number 9. The Chongqing monorail through a building. In Chongqing, China, one of the world's most populous municipalities, engineers faced a seemingly impossible challenge. The city stretches along the Yangtze and Jialing rivers through extremely mountainous terrain. Space is scarce, and the topography is ruthless. When planners designed Line 2 of the Chongqing rail transit system, they hit a problem at one location. A 19-story residential and commercial building was planned for the exact spot where the monorail track needed to go. Rather than demolish the building or reroute the train, they did something extraordinary. They built both simultaneously. Liziba Station, which opened for trial operations on June 18, 2005, sits between the 6th and 8th floors of that 19-story building. The monorail literally enters the building, stops at the station, picks up passengers, and exits out the other side. Floors 1 through 5 house shops and offices. The station occupies floors 6 through 8. Apartments sit above. The engineering solution uses a station bridge separation structural form. The rail transit support system and the building's structural support system are completely independent of each other. They share the same physical space, but transmit no forces between them. The monorail runs on pneumatic rubber tires supported by air springs, producing operational noise levels below the average 75.8 decibel threshold of typical urban traffic. Before construction, the design team commissioned a French architectural consultancy to verify that the system would not create adverse noise or vibration effects for residents. The preliminary drawings were revised at least 6 times before the final plan was confirmed. Today, Liziba Station attracts more than 5 million visitors a year, who come just to watch the monorail disappear into a building. It was an engineering solution born from impossibly tight urban space, and it works perfectly every single day. Number 10. The Shanghai Maglev. We end with a train that doesn't even touch the tracks. The Shanghai Maglev train, which began commercial operations on January 1, 2004, is the world's first commercially operated high-speed magnetic levitation line. It connects Shanghai Pudong International Airport to Longyang Road Station in the city, a distance of about 30 kilometers. Maglev technology uses powerful electromagnets to lift the train approximately 10 millimeters above the guideway and propel it forward without any physical contact. No wheels, no friction, no engine in the traditional sense. The train floats on a magnetic field and is pushed forward by a linear motor embedded in the track. The Shanghai Maglev reaches a top operational speed of 431 kilometers per hour roughly 268 miles per hour, making the 30-kilometer journey in just about 7 minutes and 20 seconds. During its testing phase, it hit 501 kilometers per hour. The technology was developed by the German company Transrapid and adapted for the Shanghai line through a cooperation between China and Germany. The entire system cost approximately $1.2 billion to build. When the concept of magnetic levitation for trains was first proposed in the early 20th century, most people dismissed it as science fiction. The idea of a train floating on magnets and reaching airplane-like speeds seemed ludicrous. Even after decades of research and prototype testing in Germany and Japan, skeptics insisted that maglev would never be commercially viable. Shanghai proved them wrong. The maglev has been operating commercially for over 2 decades, carrying millions of passengers with an exceptional safety record. It demonstrated that the technology works not just in a laboratory, but in the chaos and complexity of daily urban transportation. It is in many ways the ultimate train that should not have worked, a vehicle with no wheels, no contact with the ground, flying on invisible magnetic forces at nearly 270 miles per hour, and yet it delivers passengers safely, on time, every single day. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling us which of these trains blew your mind the most. We'll see you in the next one.